Slow-cooked lamb shoulder served as a comfy. Yum. I mean, I learned that slow-cooked lamb shoulder served as a comfy when I used to be an executive chef for Marco Pierre White. And I tell you what, after I tasted that dish the first time, I never took it off any menu wherever I was a head chef. I think it's the best way to serve lamb shoulder, and it's also the easiest way, and you could literally have a dinner party for 20, 30, 40, 50 people, and each piece would come out absolutely perfect, because it's literally impossible to stuff it up. I mean, I think it's a real chef's dish, you know, a dish that chefs cook for themselves or other chefs. Now here's a little lamb education for you, and I don't want to talk about age and stuff like that. I want to talk about the so-called forequarter, which you see here right now, which is the neck, which is the shoulder, which is the ribs underneath the neck. That is literally the most exciting part of a lamb, and most chefs would agree with me, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that later. So then you season it with some garlic, some herbs, peppercorns. You do have a recipe in the link below, so please check that out. And in goes all those flavors, and then the next thing we need to do is we need to get some fat. So I'm gonna use some ghee today because that's what I have. You could use some olive oil, you could use some lamb fat, you could use even some cheap oil if that's really what you have to do. You're gonna use the fat again and again, so it's not gonna be thrown out. So just make sure you cover those lamb forequarters, or if you don't have lamb forequarters, use shoulders or even shanks. Place it in the oven, and older lamb has a bit more developed fat and myoglobin, which makes it taste stronger. I know you're going to ask me what's myoglobin. Well, check out the video on salting steak. I'll place it in the link below. Together with the link of my online courses, which you should also check out. I think it's a pretty amazing offer. Again, after you cooked it at sort of 130 degrees or 260 degrees Fahrenheit for around 8 to 10 to 12 hours, depending on the age of the lamb, you take it out, and now we will check if it's cooked or not. So I always like to place the lamb shoulders or the forequarters onto a cake rack for approximately 20 or 30 minutes. So just to let all that excess fat drip off. There should be none of that fat in the shoulder, so don't worry about that. So yeah, most chefs consider the forequarters the best part of the lamb because it has a much more superb flavor than the legs. And now strain off the fat and freeze it down. And the forequarter also has a lot of different textures and muscles. It's sort of ideally for cooking it well done and staying juicy because of the connective tissue and the fats, obviously, the different structures of the muscles. If you want to learn more about that, check out my video on beef Burgundy. And now I'm gonna dry off the tray because I want to sort of work on that tray and just dip it off, and the meat literally should fall off the bone. So if there's any resistance in the meat where you find that meat sticks to the bone a bit harder, you need to cook it again, because otherwise the confit later on will not be that soft and tender as you want it to be, and then you break the muscles up just a tiny bit. I don't want to shred it, but just sort of break it up, because it is a protein, and when it gets cold it's gonna get hard. So if it's a bit sort of broken up, it's much nicer to eat, and you can see all the bones come off, and that's absolutely perfect. And the next thing I want to do then is basically season it and get rid of any excess lumps of fat. So if there's lots of fat in it, you just get rid of that now. So it's absolutely perfect. I can really sort through all of that. Everyone should have a perfect piece because I've gotten rid of all the knuckles and all the harder parts. And the good thing, of course, is there's absolutely no wastage. Now, salt, pepper. If you want to add some other flavors, of course you can do that too, but this should be cooked. I wouldn't put anything raw in there, like garlic and stuff, because you're not going to cook that thing a second time. So mix that all nicely together. Okay, and now we need to press it, and that's really important. So what I'm going to do for that, I'm going to get a tray. I'll put some baking paper into the tray, because that's going to make it much easier to get it out later on. You put the meat in there, and you can see there's some pretty big lumps in there, which is all good. You of course could do the same dish with pork neck, absolutely perfect. Pork hocks, duck would be another one, goose. And then you just press the meat down, and then you put some paper on the top, and now you need to really squeeze it down, because two things. We want to get out any excess fat. It's going to be easy done. Plus, you don't want to have that confit later on being sort of a bit too soft, because when you then cook it, it might fall apart. And now just put a heavy pot on it and fill it up with water, and then you put that into the fridge overnight, where you let it sit and get totally hard, completely hard. At this stage, you could also go and freeze the lamb down. It would last in the fridge easily for a week, no problem. So it's a great dish to pre-cook, you know, for dinner party, as I said in the beginning. And next we're going to make the herb crust on the top, so some rosemary, some thyme, some oregano, whatever you want to do. Parsley, and you need loads of parsley, because the parsley is going to give it a really nice bright green color, so it needs to be super fresh parsley. I always add some capers to it too, because that's going to be my salt, and I always use salted capers. I don't like vinegar capers because the vinegar can be a bit overpowering. Breadcrumbs, and they need to be snow white, so use some Japanese panko breadcrumbs, and then you blend that until it becomes really, really fine. So you need to run it probably for quite a while. And you can see all the parsley basically gonna break up. And so here's my breadcrumbs, and then I generally add a little bit of olive oil to the breadcrumbs to make them nice and sticky, like you see me doing here. And then take out the lamb the next day, and now we need to get it out of the mold, which is pretty straightforward. Remove the pot, remove the tray, take it out, and then just rinse it a little bit under hot water. I mean, if you do have a blowtorch, you can just blowtorch a little bit. You don't need to heat it too much, you just really sort of want to get it a bit softer, and then the lamb should come out. If you have a tray like that, I just push it forward, because there most likely will be a bit of a vacuum there too. And here we go, it's coming out. Oh, perfect. Okay, that's the lamb shoulder confit. So now I'm just gonna trim the ends, which are pretty good by themselves too. Cut it into even pieces, and after that I could wrap it and I could freeze it. That's what I did in restaurants. I mean, we didn't freeze it, but we wrapped it and put it in the fridge. And so some really nice pieces, and then you need to bake it, because we want to crisp it up. You know, we don't have that sort of flavor yet developed. It's literally just confit meat. Think about confit duck leg, you know, that's so good because you then also crisp it up. So nice cubes, and then onto a tray. The oven is now 220 degrees hot on Fahrenheit. Would that be 240 Fahrenheit? I'm gonna put that meat. There's enough fat in it and all of that. There's nothing you need to do, and you just place that into the oven and you cook it for around 20 to 30 minutes, and it will get really nice and brown on the outside. You can see it roasting now. That's absolutely sensational. Oh, I love that. Okay, can you see how easy that is? Could you see that in the dinner party? Then you need to brush it with mustard, because mustard and lamb is just one of those magic combinations. I like to use English mustard because it's super hot. For the older lamb, definitely use English mustard. For a younger lamb, I'll probably use some Dijon mustard. The breadcrumbs go in. And as you can imagine, the breadcrumbs are a bit boring, so I put that back in the oven. I turn the heat off, put it in the oven, and let the breadcrumbs dry out a bit and get a bit crispy. In between, I get some tomato sauce. I'm posting this video next week, so stay tuned. If you look it later on, just check out my video on tomato sauce. And then you add some beans. I use some butter beans, some cannellini beans. I boil it up. So the idea is a bit of a casserole. Then I add some rosemary, some thyme, stir that all together. So can you see confit lamb, casserole beans? Do you know where I'm coming from? And in goes the beans into the bowl. And the lamb goes on it, and look how good that looks. Could you see that? I could easily plate 50, 60 portions up. Put a few herbs around, drizzle a bit of olive oil over it, just to get a little bit sort of a freckled look into the casserole beans. And here we go. That's my lamb shoulder confit. Let's taste it now. Can you see how beautifully that falls apart? Yum, that tastes so good. Delicious. Oh, you know what's the difference between you and me right now when it comes to cook this dish? No? Couple of drinks. Unless you are with me in this, are you? Believe it or not, actually, somebody recently told me that I drink too much. Can you believe that? So I actually then told that to my counselor, and he said it's not my fault, it's society's fault. Now, I never met her. I don't know that society person, but if she's causing this in me, then yes, I accept it. Thanks so much for watching. Check out my video on potato gratins. Check out my online courses in case you want to lift this dish onto a total other level. Thank you so much. Have a great day.